just a second while I get something set up over here. Okay, I just need to plug my tablet in. How was everyone's week? Okay, that is my tablet getting plugged in, and we should be ready to go. So, why is it popping up over on the other screen? It's not mapped. Oh boy. So, over the weekend, I rearranged my office. And I've been using my Cintiq instead of my tablet, which I usually use. So I thought it was mapped. It is. I had to unplug my displays and then re-plug them in, so it's probably mapped to the wrong monitor. But that's right. I have my. I'll just draw directly on the Cintiq anyway. I was kind of hoping to use it as like a different monitor to put reference on and stuff, but I'll just use it as what it's supposed to be used for anyway. Okay, so yeah, good to see everyone this week. I think this is our third Wednesday stream. I'm going to be working on some different stuff today, kind of related to what we're doing with the textures and stuff, because that's part of this. Because I need to know there's some texture variations that will happen as the dino grows. But what I'm trying to get done right now is just like an idea of what the growth cycle is going to look like for the Ourano. And I'm gonna. So last time I've done this for the Eocarcharia, but I'm kind of modifying my process because I just want some sort of guide to put behind the model as reference while I'm doing this. So that way I'm just not like, winging it, basically. I want to plan. I don't really... The model itself is like already set up properly and like ready to go into the game. And I really don't like smushing around things and like moving stuff around if I don't know exactly where I'm going to put that stuff, So that's what I'm doing today, is I'm going to make a plan, and we're going to do that for the Ourano right now. What I just did here is, this is the like template for the skin designs that I made for some of the other artists to use. And I'm going to just use this as like a quick way to ideate what the different growth stages of the Ourano are going to look like. So we're going to kind of do some 2D illustration sort of concept art type of stuff today. And we'll see how far we get with this. I need... what I was just about to do before I turned on the stream was... I need just a scale reference. Just a scale reference for the Ourano. That way I know how big he's going to be. So when I'm doing the like infant stages and the sub-adult and stuff like that, I know how big they are relative to another model. This is just kind of, it's going to be kind of guesstimation. I'm not going to be doing like super it's not going to be like super accurate, I guess, because they're going to go and change this stuff anyway in the game itself. This is the human model, by the way. This should have been revealed in the devlog, so this version of the model anyway should already be shown out there. Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of scale this guy. And then we'll take a quick measurement of him just to see how tall things are. I'm making this guy 2 meters tall just for the sake of simplicity. He's 2.5, so we'll probably have to scale him down just a little bit. Be about right there. Check. Even a little bit shorter. Okay, well, we'll call that good. Let the eyeball it again. It was around there somewhere, I think. Or just put a guide here. That way I don't have to remember that spacing. Somewhere around there. We'll call that good. Okay. So, starting to think about what I actually want to have happen to the Ourano while it grows up. So there's a process that happens. I don't actually think we have baby Ouranosaurus to look at. So it's a little bit difficult to judge like what they would actually look like as babies. But there are some guidelines that we can use. There are some other baby like relatives, some baby hadrosaurs that we can look at. And generally with dinos, their heads and eyes get much bigger in proportion to their body, and their legs can change a bit. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm just kind of wondering if I should start with the most extreme case or if I should just kind of gradually go down. And again, I'm just kind of guessing kind of at the sizes. I don't know exactly how the sizes are going to work out in game. You'd actually be able to scale this however it needs to be scaled in game. So this could be about the right size. It could be smaller, but I'm just going to kind of give an impression of what this would be the subadult Let me get some sketching brushes out here. This one's nice. I just want to kind of get an idea. So this subadult is going to be the closest to adult proportions that we have, but I'm going to change a little bit of stuff. I think what's going to happen is this sail is going to get smaller. Probably be around here for the sub. And then probably make the head just a little bit bigger and the eyes just a little bit bigger. Just a little bit. And then I'll grab the head. Just a tiny bit. This sort of like bump there, I'm kind of considering that like a mature feature. So I'm gonna kind of knock that down. Take that down, yeah. So take that down. We'll take the sail down. It's basically when this guy's a baby, I don't want it to have just maybe like the slightest hint of a sail, but not very large at all. We'll kind of consider that like a mature adult feature. We'll keep it kind of sketchy. I'm not gonna like go too I'm not gonna get too obsessive about like the refinement of the sketches because they're mostly for my reference. They're not really gonna be used for anybody else's. I will be presenting these to like to Islander to just get his sign off on like, you know, this actually looks good to proceed. So they need to be clear as far as that goes, but I'm the one who's gonna be using them for reference. So as long as I know what they look like and they're clear enough to be understood, I think they're gonna be fine. So I think that might be good for a sub. We could kind of shorten up the face just a little bit, just a tiny bit. Something like that. We'll get the let me check something real quick. Just looking up some quick ref for the limb bone proportions. It looks like it's fairly consistent. Yeah, I'll leave it for right now. We'll call that good for the sub. And then we'll go into shrink this guy down even more. So we have 4 growth stages total, I think. So again, I'm gonna reduce the sail. This I think would be considered juvenile. I forget what we're labeling things. So I think that to me looks good. Then we'll do the same thing that we did before. We're gonna increase the size of the head. Sorry about that noise. Photoshop likes to yell at me. Then I'm gonna take the head and then we'll enlarge it again. Even just a little bit more. And we'll take the eyes, make that bigger. to the head. So we can kind of start getting that kind of cute looking effect that babies have. This is going to get shorter. Some kind of adjustments here in the sketch to make sure everything starts to line up and make sense. Again, I'm gonna take this sort of bump here and it's gonna be pretty smooth at this stage, and then it'll be completely gone in the baby stage. Not even a hint of a bump there. Okay. So then take this, duplicate it again. We'll slide this under the tracing paper layer there. And then I will shrink him down even more. This is where like I'm not really sure. I'm sure once I talk to Islander, we can get a gauge of like actually how small the in-game model should be. Like I said, I'm just eyeballing it right now. Okay. So apply that, get this down here, put a mask, new layers, sketch out the outline of the back. So here is where it's going to be mostly completely gone. One thing I want to try to do is like think about, because I'm assuming this is not going to be the only like ornithopod or hadrosaur, duckbill looking dinosaur in the game. So if you were to compare all of the babies, next to each other, you should still be able to tell from the player's perspective, at least, you should still be able to tell, oh, that's a baby Ouranosaurus, that's a baby this, that's a baby that. They shouldn't like look too similar. So I'm trying to keep that in mind while I'm doing this. With the, obviously I don't know what the other models will look like because we don't have them. But I'm just trying to keep that in mind. So I think like I don't want the sail to look too big on the baby version, but I still would like it to have something compared to another type of hadrosaur or dinosaur, you know. That way you can kind of differentiate them from each other if you were just to look at them from a distance or something. Let's see. And then again, this is going to have the slightly bigger head, bigger eyes. If I were actually selecting stuff, then I would change. Okay. The pivot point there, make it slightly bigger. And then we're going to make the eyes even bigger than this. In proportion to the head. And then we'll make the beak much shorter. It's got a weird underbite now. Much squatter face. That. And we'll kind of stitch things together in the sketch here. We'll completely get rid of this little bump there. It's kind of, it was pretty minimal right there anyway, but we'll get rid of any sort of little bump. Probably get more of this off. Somewhere there. Kind of average it out. And it is kind of, it seems to be the smaller the I'm looking at some other baby hadrosaurs, just because you know it's kind of strange the classifications. I know Ouranosaurus is related to Iguanodon. I think they're would be considered an iguanodontid or something, but I don't know how they relate to. Let me just look really quick. Ornithocheus. They're part of the they're Hadrosauriformes. So I would say, yeah, we can look at some hadrosaurs. We kind of have no choice really, because we don't have any baby Ouranosaurs as far as I know. Yeah. So what I'm seeing from hadrosaurs, I'm looking at like Parasaurolophus babies. And from what I can tell, their body proportion in proportion to the legs doesn't change a ton. It's more so their head. Their heads are pretty short, and their eyes are pretty big. So we'll kind of go with that sort of trend for now. It might get more like we could always push stuff, you know. We can change stuff and make it more exaggerated, less exaggerated later. But for right now, somewhere around here is where I was thinking. Something like that. Just make that mark. Yeah, something like this. Well, we can use this as a starting point, at least. I'm just taking a step back and taking a look at all of it together. Okay. Okay. So let's save this. And then I was actually expecting that I was going to take much longer on that, but that kind of came together fairly quick. So I suppose we can go back to some texturing. Because I think I can export that and send that off for review. And then while that's getting all sorted out, I can just keep going on the textures for the Urano. Give me 1 sec while I open up all that stuff, and yeah, I'll get going on that. Just shut this off. Yeah, I'll turn this off. I mean, I'll shut it down. And then I'll drag this stuff onto my other monitor. It's kind of weird working on my Cintiq now, because I haven't really worked on it for a while. So it's been kind of underutilized, and it just feels kind of strange. It's much different than what I'm used to working on on my tablet. So I'm getting my reference back up, and then we'll just keep on going. Let me make sure I'm on my UV set properly. Okay, so last time, where were we on this guy? Let me just remember my keyboard shortcuts really quick. I'm like, so I can't see my keyboard. It's like off to the side and behind my Cintiq monitor. It's kind of awkward right now. So I'm kind of operating my controls, my keyboard shortcuts by memory. In feel over here, so I might hit something wrong. This is not too far off now from where we need it to be for final, I think. I just need a few refinements. Take this down here. Okay, I'm trying to think of where I need to address stuff. This. It's gonna be more about like the edges. Again, I keep talking about the edges of the markings, but that's kind of, a lot of it is just like edge control. Making sure that there's a lot of variation. Consistency throughout the texture, making sure that it looks like the actual textures concept, stuff like that. So I'm kind of, some of this is procedurally created. I used what's called a warp. Excuse me. It's like a warp effect on the base. You can see right here, it's called warp. I used that on the base, like skin markings, and it gives like this sort of, you can see it right here. It just like breaks up the edges and like jitters them somewhat, which is a really cool effect. But I don't want it to be like, you can kind of tell if you're, once you like get a feel for texturing, you can kind of tell what's hand textured and what's like procedural. So anytime I use this, like any kind of procedural texture, I try to make sure that I'm actually going back in and painting on top of stuff, just to give that hand painted look back. I don't want to get rid of, like, there's certain things that I like about the procedural stuff. Like there's certain ideas it'll give me. Like I'm trying to build on top of the procedural. Not, but I don't want it to like speak for me, if that makes sense. think most of my attention is just going to be on these spot areas up here, just because it's like it's the primary focal point of the skin, I would say. It's got a lot going on. It's got the most contrast. It's got the most color. So I want to make sure that these shapes are getting pretty well dialed in. It's a little bit... I'm going back and forth a lot. Because I'm trying to create a lot of variation, but still get the gist of the concept across. Something that's cool that's happening in the concept. And I wonder if I can incorporate it here. I'd have to put it on a separate layer though. Let me see. Let's see. I need the curvature. No. Is that what? Let's see. Yes. Yep. And I need... Let's see. Okay, so this kind of effect, you see that, where it's like breaking up the scales? It's like, it's that, but reverse. So I have to invert it somehow. It's the easiest way to do that. Problem is, if I invert that on inside the layer stack there, it's going to invert everything. And I don't want it to invert the whole layer stack because that will screw up the way I have the organization of everything right now. It'll make things look way different. I'll keep that in mind real quick and I'll just keep going. I should be able to do it, but I gotta set it up a certain way. maybe too subtle. Maybe a little bit more. One thing that I'm noticing about working on the Cintiq is that it has way more sensitivity than I'm used to. So like, normally in my, if I was working on my tablet, I wouldn't need to like, there's just less degrees of sensitivity. So depending on how much you press, you're getting more or less mark on the like ink coming out of your pen, essentially. But with a Cintiq, it's much finer. So I'm kind of like, I'm noticing that when I'm pressing down on the pen, I either need to press much harder or I need to press much lighter. Like my muscle memory hasn't really adapted to the Cintiq too much. It's kind of surprising, like the degree of sensitivity, because I can press really super lightly and get very, very, very light stuff. That's something like if I were pressing this slightly, you can see it's very subtle, but you can see the marks. You can see the little dots happening. Like if I do it right here. If I were on my tablet, if I were pressing this lightly, there just would be nothing showing up. It's not that tuned into the stylus, which is really cool, but it's also something to get used to. You can get really, really, really subtle transitions, which is what I want. You know, I want to push the subtlety, especially for what we're trying to test out in the game right now. We'll see how subtle we can become with this stuff. Zooming out, checking. This might be a good opportunity to, let's try this. We'll try that again, but with this mask. This mask, I mean. Get this. Okay. We want to add, I think. Yeah. And then I think what I need to do is I need to make this an anchor point, because I need to make adjustments to it within the layer stack, and I just can't do that with it as a fill layer. So I need to add it as a anchor point, and then I can adjust the contrast and stuff within the stack. I can also invert it and stuff. So we'll do that. We'll add a black mask. Inside the mask, add a fill, add the... Yep. So that's my mask. Then I need to go to anchor. This will be... Just call it cavity. Turn that. You can turn it off. It can be on or off. It doesn't really matter. This. Where's my layer? This one. Yep. Then we will add a fill. Then we will go to my anchor points to add the cavity. And then inside here, we can try this. Invert it. We can turn this to... Is that what I want? No. Invert it. Add it. Because I do like the it's catching the high points of the scales on the back here, and I'd like to fade it out. So what I'm going to do is I'll just add another paint, and then we'll use one of these guys or something. We'll just fade. I think that'll look pretty cool. And it's on its own layer, so if it's not working for what we need, then we can always take it off. But I think that just adds a little, because it picks up the little detail of the scales. Adds a little bit of extra contrast, while also breaking up the value. Just have to make sure I'm controlling it. Make sure it's not showing up where it's not supposed to. Yeah. So I'm using it as like a method to break things up, to break up the consistency of the edge qualities. On this like transition here. It's a little bit of added detail, kind of free detail, because it's utilizing the sculpt detail inside the mask itself. The weird thing is, so instead of, I have to use an eraser instead of painting out stuff. Let's see. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay, it's auto-saving real quick. When it, that kind of jolts me out of, I wish it didn't do that. When it's auto-saving and I do like a button press or anything, it'll like do that. I don't know if you guys heard that, but that nasty kind of like jingle sound or whatever the heck it is, alert sound. And I really don't like it. I don't know if I can disable it or not. I wish it didn't do that. It's a really obnoxious sound. Okay. So I think that's starting to work out. Let me just make sure. I'm just double checking like where it's supposed to appear, where it's not supposed to appear. It's kind of not really a right or wrong thing. It's just trying to check with what would be consistent with what I already did. I could probably, I'm wondering if I could make that more efficient in case I want to do it again on other areas. I could probably duplicate the mask that I already have and then use it as like a starting point. That way I don't have to hand paint out all of these areas. That might work. I think that looks pretty cool on those edges there. I just need to kind of subtle, but it helps break up that edge. I don't want it to be too crazy. It should be picking all that up in the RGB. Yeah, I see it. That's good. Okay. That's it. So the thing about that I just realized is, so if I come over here, get this. We were adding those like all kind of manually. But if I come down here, add fill, and then go to where are my anchors? Go to cavity. So we see that there. If I just add, I wonder if I can group this. Can I group that? No, because it's underneath the mask. How would I do that? I want this. Put that as spots. Turn that back on. Turn this back on. Fill. Spots. Crank this. Adjust the intensity here. And then go to, maybe I want this to be on multiply. That's mostly what I wanted. Just a little bit of like, a little bit of added variation in there. It's nice. Let's see. If I turn both those off, there is a lot more to the spot though on this part. So I may need to separate this effect. me duplicate this. And then I will get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of this. Just turn this off. Back on. This needs to be normal. This. Let's see. What's this? Fill. Spots are broken. Why are spots broken? Because I duplicated it, maybe. Mouse because it's kind of hard to do it with my pen. Should probably just control it with levels. Control it separately. That way I can get it as bright as I need it to be. I want it to be pretty bright. Come back to the base color. We have a bit of contrast there. I think that works better than this because that was like that was hand painted, but it looked kind of I don't know. I just didn't like it as much. I like that it picks up. It corresponds to the detail of the sculpt like this. So I think we'll go with that. Only thing is, now that I've got this doubled up, I'm wondering how it is going to look in the this area here. I can always add that detail back in though, up there on the RGB. It's a little bit tricky, but I can do it. See what happens if I Hmm. Okay. So where does this color pop in? We're gonna do something a little bit weird, I guess. I'm gonna it's kind of like nesting the mask inside of itself is what I'm thinking might happen here. So I have to figure this out. It's fill layer 6 mask. So I add a fill, go to anchors, fill layer 6. Is there a way to blur this? Because what I would like to do is kind of like blur it slightly and then layer it on top of it itself so it kind of masks itself out. Oh, I don't have to work so hard to get things in the areas that I want them to be. Because that would be really nice. Problem is if I add a blur, if I add a blur here, it's going to blur everything, which I don't want. Back to the base color. I don't really need like a ton of stuff here though. We may just need to do it by hand anyway. It's fine. I'm always trying to like think about ways to sort of automate stuff. Just to make my life a little bit easier. Actually, what if I do? It'll make my life easier in a way, but not in others. Let me see. So if I take this off, duplicate this. And we don't need any of these. All this stuff can go away. Including this. And then we're just going to add a fill layer. This cavity. Actually, hold on. We'll add a black mask here. Get rid of all that stuff. Add a fill. Turn this into the anchor point, which is the cav. This should still be underneath, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then I think I'm still going to end up having to paint out all of that stuff. Yeah, I think I'm still going to end up having to paint out all that stuff, but at least now it's like on its own layer and I don't have to worry about screwing up the underlying stuff, because before when I was painting and I was like cutting into all these areas, it was cutting into the previous model, like the previous painting that I had done, and it was like undoing itself basically. I don't really want that to happen, because I don't need this to be in every, like I just need like a little bit of sporadic catching of the scale details here and there. I don't need it to be throughout. It's like this kind of stuff here. The rest of it can just be painted over, you know, painted black. But this stuff here is what I want. I need the... It's really just this area with the spots on the back that I need. The rest of it's going to go away. It's kind of... It's the way it goes with substance painters. Like, at least for me, it's like trying to get the most out of the least amount of layers that I can get away with. Because the layers do stack up, and the more complex your color scheme is, your texture is, the more sort of unmanageable I think it starts to become. And it'll, for me at least, and I think I have a decent computer, but the more layers you add onto here, especially if you're viewing it in the viewport at like 4K, it's gonna start to chug. And nothing is really worse than like chugging when you're texturing, because you're just moving around the model so much. You really need it to be super responsive. If it's not responsive, then it becomes a real big chore texturing a model like this. I can actually go, let's go into 2D view. Then I can see stuff and I don't have to like work around the angles so much. Just clean stuff up where I need them to be cleaned up. Bottoms of the feet, insides of the arms, stuff like that. On the face, I need to get rid of some spots on the face. This stuff here. I need to remask that out because that looks like there's some stuff that got through there. But like, yeah, I think little subtle details like this are going to be cool. Not on the nose, of course, but like These little catches of little speckles of scales are going to be cool. Get an eraser. Just go to the edges of these a little bit. A little bit of random. Where is this layer? I think the mouth is actually not painted in all the way. Where is this? Yeah, it's just not painted in all the way. I need to actually get in here and I don't want any of this stuff showing up inside of the mouth. Okay, that's a fix right there. And the tongue too should be the same color. I don't know why I didn't catch that before, but it's good that we caught it now. Let's go back to 3D view. Actually, let's turn the lights on. How about that? It's pretty subtle, but I think it does add a lot of like depth. I think this skin is cool in the sense that there's like it's kind of like black on black sort of thing. Like it's something that we used to do in printing is if you take a glossy black ink and you print it on top of a matte black, or if you do it vice versa, you get this cool effect where it's like there's like a subtle shiny sort of like it's just a cool little effect where there's kind of depth to it, even though everything's almost the same value. There's additional detail where you wouldn't think there would be. So I think that's kind of happening here is like a lot of this starts to even out. It all looks kind of like it's black, but it's actually not black. It's multi-toned. But I'm not sure. I might have to consult people on this. So we could leave it like this, or we could actually bump up the values, play with the values a little bit, just so it's a little bit more evident. So I am maybe a tiny bit worried that it's just gonna flatten out too much. Like it almost seems like it's one color when it's really not one color. There's like 3 colors in there. So I don't know. I have to touch base with people on that and make sure that it's looking the way that it should be looking. I do like it though. I think it's looking pretty cool. There is an additional layer. So there's this black here, and there's another black on top. So I didn't have those on. So maybe I'm judging it too quick. So there you go. That's a good amount of variation, I think. So I don't think it would need more. Yeah, because you can, even in shadow, when actually in shadow you see it better. In light, it kind of gets, it can get difficult to see because you're starting to see the texture of the skin. But I think that's working pretty well. That's cool. Okay. So we'll keep going. The one thing, the thing that I was going to play around with is this. Let's see. It's like the inverse of what I was doing. So before I was adding layers to like catch the scales on the edges of this, but now I want to like catch the lower portions of the scales. Turn this on. So what am I gonna do? Let's see. Look at this, put this above. Add a fill. Get that curvature map. Or actually, no. Ooh, okay. No, I want to fill. Then I will add the curvature map. And then I will... Actually, I don't want a curvature. I want the anchor point of the cavity. Then I want to invert. So we get... So you see that happening there on the edges. We'll invert it so that the low points get the white, or like the base color. Let me check this out really quick. And then I want to make it very like contrasty. Back. And then what else do I want to do? So that's good. That's doing what I want. But now I need to mask it out because it's basically tearing up all of the color that I had in there. So you see that? So I need to mask out where I don't want it, which is the majority of spots. So we're adding stuff to kind of take away is basically what's happening. So I'm gonna add a paint layer and just start doing that. Lab Rat, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. We're just doing some textures at the moment. Before you popped in, we were doing some growth stage stuff. I actually got through it much quicker than I thought I was going to get through it. I thought I was going to take a good chunk of the stream, but it only ended up taking like 30 minutes. So now we're back on the texture stuff and we're just adding details here. This is going to be pretty subtle. It's basically only going to show up on the edges of stuff, and only like sparingly. I like to think of it like I don't know if any of you guys have painted models before, like or if you watch those, like if you watch people paint Warhammer minis on YouTube, they talk a lot about like dry brushing. Dry brushing is a technique where you take paint on the brush and then you basically wipe it on a like a paper towel or something. You take the majority of the pigment out of the brush, so there's only a very tiny amount, and then you do really rough passes over the model. And what it ends up doing is it ends up picking up the high points of the model and depositing like the little bit of pigment on the high points. It's kind of what we're doing here. We're picking up the high points, we're picking up the low points of these scales, and we're kind of popping them to get additional surface detail. To get additional like color detail, I mean. And it's helping to break up all of that like very hazy airbrushy sort of stuff that we were having on the skin so far. Hey, Labrat, thank you. I appreciate it. It's getting there. I like it much more now than I was before. Like this kind of stuff, I don't know. Sometimes there's just areas of the model that kind of catch me, like catch my eye, and that start feeling like they're looking good. They're feeling like they're finalized, and like this area right here, like the way the skin, like the way the colors like break apart and then fade into this creamy kind of undertone here, that feels really nice to me. That feels pretty natural. It feels like it's a good combination of like, you can definitely tell where the mark is, where the stripes are, but it doesn't feel like racing stripes on a car or anything, you know. It's a nice natural sort of blend between the tones. And that's kind of what I'm going for. I need to use my eraser and not my paintbrush for this. Labrat, how's your week been? I hope it's been good for you. Done anything interesting? Is it just like working mainly? School? To this layer. Okay. I'm kind of getting, it's starting to get a little bit tricky with the layers. A little bit tricky. Ah, okay. Working weekend. Going to a pride event to help a friend. That's really cool. Okay. Nice to support a friend. And then deep cleaned the house. Okay. I actually did I did a bit of a deep clean of my office and I like rearranged stuff. Because it was just getting really, I don't know, I guess kind of cluttered and I wanted just to like redistribute stuff. I thought about a way that my workspace could be just a little bit more optimized. So I changed that around and I think it's working out actually really well so far. I have a Cintiq which I haven't used very regularly. And it's been kind of bothering me because it's kind of it's a really nice piece of equipment. And I really wanted to use it, but it's just been, it was just kind of awkward to use because the positioning that it made me get into, like it just wasn't very ergonomic on my desk, you know. And it kind of caused me some problems with my neck and my back to kind of try and work on it. But I think I found a way. I'm actually currently working on it. I think I found a way that feels good. It's not really straining my neck or back. It like fits on my desk nicely. I have space to have my stuff, my keyboard and my mouse and all that stuff. Before it used to take up a lot of space. It was just very awkward. But now it's working much better. So I think I like it. I think I'm going to stick with it. We'll see how it goes. This is just like my first week. I changed it up on Saturday after the stream. I like spent the majority of the day like cleaning, taking stuff out, putting stuff back in. Oh yeah, that was a good chunk of my Saturday. Runaway Cobra, welcome, welcome. These streams make me want to 3D model an animal, but it looks complicated. If you have the motivation and the desire to try it out, I'd say try it out. You never know, you know. You never know if you're gonna like it or not, or if you find it easy or not easy. There is challenge to everything, of course, but if you're interested in doing it, I'd say jump in. Could be fun. Don't take it too, especially if it's your first time trying. Don't take it like super seriously. Just like try to have fun with it and learn. As long as you're learning something, that's kind of the point when you're starting something new. Personally rearrange the apartment every so often. Yeah, it makes things feel fresh, just gives everything a little bit of a new life to it, and you can enjoy a new sort of environment inside your home. It's nice. Actually, what was really nice about it is like I have a lot more storage space now. I had before I had this. It's just like an IKEA, those cube shelves. I had it on the side of my desk here, but a lot of it was actually blocked by the desk itself, so I wasn't able to like get under there and like actually use the shelving. I'm gonna have a ton of books. So, now that I had like everything rearranged, I actually have a lot more space to put like all of my reference books and stuff. So I'm pretty happy about that. And I actually have like kind of like another little display area for all of my action figures in front of my desk. It's not too big, but it provides a home for stuff that I didn't have a home for before, which is nice. Runaway Cobra, if it's your first time doing like 3D software, like 3D sculpting, just try to use like free stuff. That way you don't have to like invest a ton of money into like seeing if you like it or not. So I would suggest Blender. It's free. It's pretty powerful. You can do a lot of stuff with it. So if you did really like it and you wanted to continue, like maybe you wanted to render it, or maybe you wanted to texture it, or there's a lot of room for you to grow there, and like just make a lot of stuff, different stuff. If you wanted to do something more like ZBrush, I think Sculptress is free. Or they might have something else. I don't remember exactly what they call it now. But I remember Sculptress was free, I think. So you could try that out. No, if you have an iPad, Nomad Sculpt is not free, but I think it's pretty cheap. And Nomad Sculpt is very powerful. It's pretty close to ZBrush, I would say. So you could try that out. What else? Yeah, I would say just pick one of those like free tools or like cheap kind of tools. Um, pick a tutorial that you think is interesting and kind of follow along. You might take a little bit of time for you to like get acclimated, and like start to kind of internalize like all the shortcuts and like where everything is. It can be kind of, I'll be honest, it can be kind of intimidating at first. It can be a little bit overwhelming, but just take your time. Take things in little bite-sized chunks. Like, you know, maybe every day or something, you spend like an hour just, you know, playing around with some of these things, and who knows, you know. But that's where I would suggest to start, is like some of those free tools, or the cheaper kind of tools. And then if you really like it, you can always, you know, upgrade or try other stuff, you know. Nah, Brat. Currently, I'm just watching with my second attempt at rose petal tea. Okay, that sounds interesting. What is rose petal tea? Is it something you have to? It's kind of hard to make. Sounds pretty special. I don't know if I've ever heard of rose petal tea. It sounds really good. Sounds like it would taste really good. For those of you who got here, like who weren't here at the beginning of the stream, I'll show you what I did in the beginning so you guys can check it out. Let me just open it up really quick. So this is what I oh, sorry about that. ZBrush is yelling at me to upgrade something. I mean, not ZBrush, Photoshop is. So this is the idea for the growth stages for the Urano. Starting with the little infant guy, he doesn't have a sail, or like this, he doesn't have the big sail. He does have like the start of a little bit of a high spine, but he doesn't have the big, you know, bump there. He's got a little bit bigger eyes, shorter face, you know, a little cute kind of looking, like baby hadrosaurs tend to look like that. And then, you know, gradually as he grows up, he gets more of a hump here, and then his face gets longer. He gets a little bit more of a little bump there on the top of his nose. His eyes get smaller. His head gets smaller in proportion to his body. And then we have the subadult here, who's almost fully grown, almost fully has that shape on the spine. Getting a little bit of hint of a little bump there. I'm kind of considering that like a mature feature, that a mature adult would have. And then finally you have the adult size, you know, with all the everything developed. So that's what I did in the beginning of the stream, is I just kind of whipped that together. It needs to be looked at and approved, of course. We might change things. We might consider some other options, but this is just like for consideration. That way I have like a reference point for how I'm going to change the model. And we'll probably do that on stream too, is we'll make the growth stages. And adjust the model so you guys can see how that works. But yeah, that's the growth phases that I did at the beginning. And then we just jump back into texturing. And I would say we're almost done with that. So we can kind of start exporting stuff. And I need to do an asymmetry pass on this. So that way it's not like perfectly symmetrical down the center. But we're nearly done with this. Let's see. Just taking rose petals and making them into tea. I have a rose bush outside. I don't want to give it a try. Last time I didn't dry them first. Oh, okay. We have roses here too. There's a lot of them. So if that's something that you would recommend, that I'd like to try it. That sounds good. Thanks, Labrat. I think he does look cute. Maybe he could be pushed a little bit more, but I think it's starting to look pretty cute. It's fun to see the dinosaurs change from like something super cute to something that can like step on a car or like tear a car in half, you know. It's kind of crazy how big they got and how strong they would have been. Yeah, thanks you guys for hanging out. I know we didn't get to talk too much. But I gotta head out. I'm trying to think if there's anything to announce right now. I don't think so. But just I'll have another stream going on Saturday morning. On the Perusaurus. We're getting ready to. We're almost done with the retopology on the Peru. So if you're interested in taking a look at the Peru, come stop by. And yeah, next Wednesday is going to be another stream. So we should still be on schedule for that. And we'll make more progress on the Urano probably. I would recommend it. And looking up how to properly do it. Okay. It sounds good. I will... I'll look into it and see if I can maybe try. I know my wife would probably really like it because she really likes teas. And if she knows that she can just make tea with the roses that we have here, I think that would be really cool. So I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, guys. Have a good rest of your evening. I'll see you Saturday or maybe next week, okay? Later.